YouTube, welcome. It's Family Man Jay here, back with another video. Today, what I wanted to talk about is my most important role as a man, and that's fatherhood. So, let's get into it. I've spent a lot of years working, building businesses, making money, losing money. I made good choices, bad choices. Um, you know, I've always tried my best to be a good provider. And over the years, I've always made it a priority to be a present father. You know, throughout all of my hustle and bustle, I always try and make sure I make time for my family, and so we can, do adventures, do vacations, um, play basketball, play sports, just whatever we can do together as a family, and for me to make sure that I'm present as a father. That's very important. And there's a point in life when you become a father that you realize, like, wow, these guys are watching you, they're basically following your footsteps. So you're leading by example now, as a man, as a father. So you have to make sure that you're going to lead them in the right direction, right? Um, I became a father early. I was 17, 18 when my son was born, and I didn't have a great father figure in my life. I didn't have somebody who was teaching me things and showing me a path that I should take, that was going to lead me to success, right? Everything that I had to learn, I learned it on my own. So becoming a father at 18, I was scared. I was lost. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I was just blessed that the mother of my children, my wife, she believed in me, and she was the backbone of our family. Over the years, while my first two sons were growing, I was growing too. I was, I never knew what being a dad was. I never knew how to be a good dad. I didn't have a proper father figure. My dad wasn't the best dad, right? He did what he could, but he wasn't the best dad, right? So as my sons grew, we grew. And as I was learning to be a father, you know, I made mistakes. I tried to, I did things differently and unorthodox, right? I didn't know what I was doing. But I always knew one thing, and that was I'm going to be the best dad that I can be for these guys. And I'm going to make sure that they have the best life that I can give to them. So that was one thing that was extremely important to me from rip. I knew I didn't have nothing to give them when they were first born, but I knew that I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna do whatever it takes to give them whatever they want in life, and make sure that they're raised by a man that's gonna make that they know will die for them and give them everything that they can. Through the early years of fatherhood, I didn't know what being a dad was. I literally was raising two boys, and I was just doing it to the best of my knowledge. I was just doing it just knowing that I'm going to make sure that they have a better life than I ever had. And I knew that they were going to be something great in life because I'm not going to let up, and I'm going to be present, right? That's the number one thing. I always told myself that I got to make sure that I'm a present father, and I'm there to teach these guys right from wrong and learn from my mistakes. And there's a point in time when you sit back and you think, like, wow, I'm leading by example. I have to lead by example. I have to show these guys that this is how you be a real man. You know, Leading by examples when it comes to how you handle stress, how you treat your wife, their mother, how you treat them, how you talk to others. These are all examples that you're leading them. you know you got to show them what's right and what's wrong, right? So that's one of my biggest achievements in life, period, is just knowing that I came from a foundation that didn't have that core father in the picture to teach me anything, but I was still able to overcome that. And now my sons are becoming men, and they're great men. That's one of my biggest achievements, if not the biggest achievement. So then, fast forward to, I'm about to be 30. Me and my wife decide, it's time for another baby. Let's try. Let's do it. There we go. Another boy. So I have another boy. Now I'm 29. And, you know, this guy gets a better version of me, a better father than my early sons had. I'm not saying I was a bad dad, but I'm just saying now I'm grown. Now I've learned some things. I've had experiences as a father. I've had experiences in life and business and work. So now I know what's wrong and what's right as a dad, right? I'm more grown. I understand things more now. Being a present father is so important to me because I never had that growing up. There was times in my life that I didn't know where my dad was, and I needed him, and he wasn't there, right? So it, I made choices and did things that were definitely not wrong. If my sons made those choices today, I would be devastated, right? I would be upset. I would beat their ass. That's what I would do. So I think that's why being present for me was so important. I had to make sure that I raised these guys right. I had to make sure that I was the best dad that I could be. When I think of what being a father really means, I think personally that it's about sacrifice. It's about doing whatever it takes to give these kids the proper guidance. I think that a lot of fathers that aren't in the picture, or not, or maybe they work too hard, or they're not present enough, that affects the kids. I think I've seen it in different families that we're close to. I've had friends and different people in my life that I see how they parent, and what their kids are going through in their similar age, and to my kids, and it's different. It's just different. I don't know, but it just shows how important it is to be present, because I know them, and I know that their present is different than my present, right? So I believe that being there and being able to talk to your kids and them being able to talk to you is so important. Every day when I'm doing whatever I'm doing, my sons can come up to me at any time and they can tell me what's going on in their life, what's happening, what they're dealing with. My oldest son, he's 20 years old, and he's a popping YouTuber. I can't even lie to you. It's, the Plot Anomaly. Y'all got to check it out. But he's coming and he's telling me, oh, I just got this sponsorship, or oh, we should go over this contract that these people are sending me. What's the next idea for the next video? We're always conversating as a family. We sit in the living room, we chill, we hang out, we watch movies. We're a tight knit unit. That's what I always say. This is my unit. I'll die for my unit. I'll kill for my unit. I promise you that. So, that's a very big pride of mine, that my family, even though they're growing, we all still like to hang out and kick it. You know what I mean? So now fast forward another 5 years. About to be 35 this year. Me and my wife again. We think let's do it. I said I don't know what happened, but I had this epiphany where I thought to myself, like, I need a daughter. I need a daughter. Like, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. All my sons, I asked God. I said, please, I just want sons. I don't want a daughter. I'm too scared to have a daughter. And for some reason, I'm 34, 35 now, going to be 35. And I said to myself, like, I need a daughter. I said, I started looking around. I thought about my own life, and I thought my dad. We don't really have that connection, but my sisters, they still, take care of my dad. You know what I mean? They do. They see him more than I see him, at least. You know what I mean? I do what I can financially, but they see him more than I see him. You know, and granted, I feel like my family unit is different, but at the time, I'm like just thinking like, wow, like I need a daughter. My daughter's gonna be the one that takes care of me when I'm old. Like what are my sons gonna do? But yeah, I said I needed a daughter, and God blessed us with a daughter. So I was very grateful. Now I'm a girl dad. And I gotta say, man, this has been the craziest experience that I've ever had. Like, girls are so different. All my buddies, all my homies back in the day, all had daughters first. I had my sons first. And it's like they always told me like, yo, it's different, man. Just wait, just wait. And I always said, ha, I got sons, man. I had 3 of them. What do you mean wait? I ain't even gonna have. I probably can't even have a girl. I said, and yeah, no. Until you have a daughter, you don't know. You don't know what it's like. She's just different. She's different. She's the best thing that ever happened to me. Honestly, all my kids are, but my daughter, I don't know what it is. She just, when you have a daughter, they just change you. They're so they put a little bit of a softer touch into you. You know what I mean? So, um, yeah, it's different having a daughter, being a girl dad. But yeah, so now I'm 34, 30, gonna be 35, and I have 4 kids. And I have a few successful businesses. I have some investments that I'm doing at the time, and you know, life is great. So now, again, I'm a different type of dad. So I'm always present. I'm always me. I'm always the same guy, right? But my daughter now gets another version of me, another version of what me as a father is, right? And it's crazy to think of how fatherhood always changes. It changes as you grow. It changes, especially for me, because like I said, I started 20 years ago, and 20 years ago I was a kid. I was a kid having a kid. So it's been a journey. It's been a crazy journey, a beautiful, blessed journey. I would never ask for anything to change. I'm so blessed, and I love my life so much. And yeah, but it's crazy, So anyway, I'm a father of 4 now at 34, 35, right? And yeah, things are different. Things are blessed. I'm a different person now. I'm more grown. I'm extremely seasoned, where I know a lot about being a dad now. And yeah, so now I can raise this daughter with care, and now I have sons who are teenagers who can help around the house more, help me with things around the yard, help their mom with things around the house and whatnot. So it's crazy. It's crazy the life cycles that you go through when you have more kids. And we spaced our kids out, which honestly, I recommend it. I love it. There's nothing I would change. I do wish that we could have more babies, because my daughter, I feel like she needs a younger sibling. That's the only thing that's lacking in our house. But you know, it is what it is, right? One of the things that I always thought of was, how will my kids think of me when they're older, or when I'm gone? Like, how will they remember me? Will they remember me as a good dad? Do they think I'm a good dad? Do they think I'm present enough? These are things that I would think of when I was younger. And I think that today I can say firmly that I've always been a present dad. And that's one of the biggest things that I always made sure of, from vacations to sports to just anything that they want to do. I've always been a supporter. I will always support my kids. And one of my major things that I love to do as a father, and as a family unit, we do family vacations. And when we're on vacation, I'm constantly having my camera out, right? Like people, if we're somewhere touristy, they know I'm a tourist right away because I'm filming the whole thing, because that's my favorite part of the vacation. I come home, and what I do is I put together a family trip video, right? Every single trip we go on, I make a video for it, because I want them to watch these one day and be like, wow, like I remember that, you know? And the crazy part is, I've been doing that for about, out of my fatherhood life, about 15 years. We've been going on trips, you know, and doing fun things. And I'll come home and I'll make the video and put it together and whatnot. And it's crazy to watch them now. Like we watch one from, 2011, and it's like, whoa, we was different. I mean, me, besides my grace, I probably look the same. But everybody else, they all look different. Like it's crazy to watch them grow, and then adding additions to those videos, like with my daughter or my other son. It's the best part of being a dad for me, doing those type of things. And I want to know, like, how will it be when they're older? Will they watch them and stuff? Like, I guess what's crazy is we do it so often, and I don't see it stopping. I'm gonna do it forever, that they're never gonna forget it, because it's always gonna be a thing, right? They're never gonna. I mean, when their kids are born and stuff, yes, and they're older, that's when it's gonna be cool, right? We get to show the grandkids, like, oh, this is how your dad looked, or this is how your mom looked, like this is how me and grandma looked. Like, it's gonna be crazy to do that. That's why I do it for, right? It's exciting. My definition of a father is, honestly, success. You know, being a good father and having the family unit that I have, there's no bigger accomplishment that I could ever achieve, right? That's my biggest achievement ever, and there's nothing that could top it, right? And besides watching my sons and my daughter become better parents than I ever could be, and better people than I could ever be, right? Um, I attribute that heavily to my wife. She's our rock. She's everything. Shout out Ashby Sweet Treats. Another shout out. Everybody gonna be on YouTube. It's all good. But yeah, no, she's our rock. Everything that we got going on, because of her belief in all of us, we can make it happen. Anything. To any father that's watching this right now, whether you're, you know, working 60 hours a week, or starting a new business, or, you know, your kids are small, or they're teenagers, or they're grown already, I think that we all got to remember one thing. You can make more money. Um, you can build another business. You can get another job. Uh, you can buy another house. But one thing you can never do is get back time. Once time is spent, it's gone forever. So, the most important thing you can do as a father, in my opinion, is just be present. Make sure you take that time, go to that game, go to that concert, show up. Just show up. And I promise you that your kids will turn out great. Just show up and be present and do whatever it takes, man. That's what we signed up for when you become a father. And I know there's eh, some baby mamas out there that might put you through hell. So to all y'all, I salute y'all, because I see the struggle. I know a couple guys that are going through it, and regardless, I don't. Both sides, for what I know, they're trying their best to be the best fathers they can be, but it's hard when the other half, can make it difficult, and vice versa to the moms that have to play both roles. There's a lot of guys out there that are not being good dads. They're shit bags, and those guys, I don't know, man. I can't stand those guys. But anyway, to all the fathers out there, just be present, man. Take that time, take that vacation, do whatever it takes, man. Just be there for your kids, man. Have that relationship, grow with them, and I promise you that they're gonna turn out great. But I'm gonna leave it there, and hope y'all enjoyed this. If you have any advice for me on being a father, hit up the comments. Let me know. If you like what you watch, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's get it, man. Let's rock out.